that has been assigned to me, and I'm really glad that this topic is what I got, because this is something that I'm really passionate about and something that speaks to me at another level. So, first of all, let's talk about what leadership is. So, there are two types of leadership. So, the first one can be professional leadership, and the second one can be personal leadership. So, what's the difference between the two? So when we talk about professional leadership, we see people who are running businesses, people who are running offices. So it can be, someone who is the head of a team, someone who is the head of any, managing any team, any business, any office. So basically everything that's related to the workplace, that can be considered part of professional leadership. And then similarly, when we talk about personal leadership, um, personal leadership is the less identified form of leadership. So, personal leadership is basically when you are trying to be responsible for your own actions. You're trying to take charge of your own self, and you're trying to, be accountable for your own actions. So, first of all, personal leadership comprises of being committed, achieving clarity, developing your own curiosity, and trying to clear that curiosity, adopting to change, having compassion, communicating effectively. So, there are like various things which you can use to develop your own self. So, that is basically personality development, your own confidence building. That can be considered part of personal leadership. And what is professional leadership? We talked about professional leadership, that is basically in the workplace. So, why is personal leadership so neglected? And when we talk about leadership, why do we only talk about professional leadership? So, for example, if we're having a discussion about female leadership, so are we considering that women should either be running countries and running governments and running businesses, or the other alternative would be that they're just staying at home, they're just housewives, they're doing nothing? So, not doing nothing, housewives do a lot of work. I'm not saying that housewives do nothing. So, there is something in between, because not everyone can be running an entire country. Not everyone can be Malala Yousafzai, but we all can be leaders of our own lives and of our own atmospheres. So, yeah. What is personal leadership? It can basically be summed up in three words. The first one is responsibility. So you take responsibility for your own self, for your own actions, and you basically realize that the things that happen to you are basically either your own choice or a consequence of your own choice. The second one is organization. You can basically organize your life, declutter your life, organize your aims, organize your goals, and most importantly, organize your time. The third one is accountability. When you waste time, you ask yourself, what have I done? You make yourself accountable. So you had a goal and you failed to achieve it. Without being too harsh on yourself, you have to be accountable to your own self, and you have to answer to your own self. So, why is leadership important? Why is personal leadership important? Because that is the first step to acquiring professional leadership. So, and even if you don't aim for professional leadership, even if even if you don't aim for what is generally considered the definition of professional leadership, that you have to be an entrepreneur. Even if you want to stay in a job in which you are not the main leader, you are part of a team, even then you have to display leadership skills. It is a very big misconception that only the leader has to show leadership skills. Each member of the team, each worker, every single person involved in an association has to show leadership skills. So, personal leadership is one of the biggest building blocks of like the entire organizational system. So, these are the basic elements of personal leadership, and I'll talk about why these are important when we talk about the female perspective. So, first of all, personality. Every chance that society gets to bring a woman down, they'll take it. Most of the times, they'll take it. So, having a strong personality, having a rock strong personality is very important. The second is self confidence. There will be many people who throw rocks at you. There will be many people who try to bring you down. Arey, she's just a woman. Arey, why are you listening to her? She's a woman. You lost to a girl. You're crying like a girl. All of these things. So, it is very important to have self confidence and a strong personality, and additionally emotional intelligence in these circumstances. Then comes cognitive and general intelligence. You have to be like aware. You have to be smart in order to succeed in life. Spiritual intelligence, that is for your own personal growth, for your realizing your goals and reaching towards them in a manner in which you don't get a lot of stress. You get to cope up with your stress. So moral and spiritual intelligences are both very important for this, making the right decisions and making them for your own accountability and for some superior accountability. Then your style of working, your skill, and your concern. These are all things that define you as a person and as a leader. And then participatory leadership, everyone has to be involved. And then motivation, that is very important. If a team has to succeed, everyone has to be motivated. So there are a few basic questions that we need to ask here, like ourselves. Why am I here? What are the rules? And if you don't know the answer to the first question, why am I here? This is the first thing that you have to do. You have to list down, take a pen and paper, and we have to just write down why am I here. And then what are the rules? If you don't know the rules, search for them, Google them, make them, write them. And then, am I committed to succeed? If the answer is yes, then you're on the right track. What resources do I need? This is very important. If we need to map our path, the path that we are going to take, we need to understand what resources we need and what investment we can make, and what basically are the external things that are not coming from within me that I may need to make my business work, to make myself work, my life work, and am I moving in the right direction? Okay, so personal leadership in everyday life. We basically talked about this a little. So it is the ability to develop our positive leadership traits to hopefully display professional leadership, or to take charge of our lives, or to positively influence the people around us. So the example that I've chosen is of Abraham Lincoln. And I mean, I can't go into a lot of detail because time is running out and I would like to stick to schedule. So, professional leadership, and what do women need, first of all? Like, do they need personal leadership or do they need professional leadership? The only answer in the world for this is both. They need both. You can't you can't say that I'm just a woman, I just need personal leadership, or I just need professional leadership. You need both. Trust me, you need both. And then, why is female leadership important? A lot of very qualified people who just spoke right before me, they've already highlighted on the aspects of the importance of female leadership. So, any institution, any society, any organization, any business cannot function without the equal participation of a woman. And also, there's like this very basic phenomenon that if like assuming half the population of the world is women, right, female, then you just choose to ignore their potential, their talents, the skill set that they can bring to businesses, the mindset, the creativity, all of the things that they have to offer. You just say no to all of that. So how are we going to develop as an entire race, as the human race, or as a country, as a community, any organizational structure you take? We cannot develop if we just choose to ignore half of the talent that we have, half of the skills that we have. So, true progress cannot happen without a diversity of leadership roles, like including the absolute top positions and including the workforce. So, the first thing that we need to do is no, the first thing that comes from female leadership is that we're educating entire families. We've been hearing this since we were babies. When you educate a boy, you educate a person. When you educate a girl, you educate an entire family. We've heard this thing hundreds of times, but somehow we fail to implement that. And then we're enabling entire communities, because as much participation as women can have will only benefit the entire community, the entire country. And then there will be more qualified workers, there will be an increased competition, so the quality of workers that we get, the quality of professionals that we get will be better. There will be more jobs, as you know, when females also become entrepreneurs, they will like obviously they will hire more people, and the perception will be changed. So when we talk about India, when we talk about like us as a country, when we talk about individual specific communities, our perceptions are generally those of oppressing women. So we have to like come at the forefront, and we have to make people realize that that's not true, that's not what's actually taught to us. And then battling oppression. So women in general around the world, they face a lot of oppression, and that can only be tackled when they're out there in the field. So a conference that I recently, not very recently, a few years ago, I attended this symposium in which there were speakers from every state of India, and they were talking about the young girls and education. So one speaker from the education department of each state. And most of these people, they surveyed a lot of young girls from rural backgrounds, from like semi-urban backgrounds, and the aims of most of these young girls were shadi. They just wanted to get married. So when asked, seventh graders, eighth graders, 10th graders, when asked what do you want to do in life, their answer was that we want to get married, we want to, find a good husband. So where are we doomed to go? Where are we destined to go if that is the aim of half the population of our country? Now, talking about our language and what impact that has on our world, on the world around us. So, first of all, we see phrases like "she's the man," "she's as powerful as a man." So if any woman is successful, you just rip her of her womanhood, of her femininity, of her identity, and you just assign all her success to traits of a man. She's as powerful as a man. She's as successful as a man. So first of all, that needs to go. Second of all, like when a woman is successful, the other thing that happens is, despite being a woman, she managed to accomplish so much. So that is definitely wrong, because you're belittling women while honoring a single woman. That the entire woman race is something little, but this one woman, despite being a woman, she managed to achieve so much. And then the mother and sister abuses, they have to go, because they're not a man's property. If you're abusing a man, you can't abuse his mother or sister. You lost to a girl, you cry like a girl, all of these things, you're belittling women. And then when you have to insult a man, you can say you're a woman. And when you have to insult a woman, you can say you're just a woman, you stop talking. So that is something that is extremely wrong, and I don't even know how that is like that has survived in our society. And then there's this basic example of governor versus governess. So if it is a governor, you picture an entire state, he's the governor of a state. When you hear the word governess, you think of a woman who's taking care of a baby, she's the governess, she's the maid, right? So that is the thing that language has done to oppress women. And not language, I mean, it's people who dictate language. Then advertising using lewd depictions of women. So it can be the advertisement of a car, it can be the advertisement of a washing machine, it can be the advertisement of a TV, anything that is extremely unrelated, but you will see a girl who is very scarcely dressed standing next to it, and then that thing starts selling. And then beauty with brains. So I had a session with Dr. Halima Sadia recently, and she made me realize this one, that beauty with brains is also extremely like wrong, because you don't need beauty. You don't need to be someone who has beauty and brains to be considered a full person. And then women in TV serials, movies, whose purpose in life is just to cook and just like be there for their husbands and fold their clothes and everything. And the fact that every woman, almost every woman who chooses to step out of her house, is told that your home is your primary responsibility. So all of these things need to go. And I'm just wrapping up because my time is, I think, over. And then attitude changes, contributing in housework, like all members are living there, so all of them need to contribute. Daughters' educations need to be supported. Sons need to be taught not to be dependent on their wives and their mothers. Gender pay gap. So this is an extremely surprising statistic, that even in the fields such as interior design, something that is largely populated by women, 87%, like this survey that I'm talking about, in that survey, 87% of the people who were surveyed were women. And even after this fact, women were paid much less than the men in the same profession. So even in the professions that are dominated by women, even there the gender pay gap is existent. So how can we even talk about the professions in which women are not as common? So that is something we really need to work upon, and not just in India but in most of the countries around the world. And then all the women centric abuses have to go, like there's no bargaining here. And then keeping a check on our language, the words we use, the things we do. Like she's a master of this trait, why is she a master? And even, yeah. So respect, that is the biggest thing, respect has to be there. So talking about the solutions, and I'm wrapping up here. The first solution is education, the second is education, the third is education. So the basic thing that we need is education. And after that, the next solution would be a cultural change, a paradigm shift. And then support groups need to be there, as Mrs. Usman Nahid also said that she's been working with support groups and like for making support groups for all of these women. So that is something that is extremely effective. And mindset change at home, because change starts at a very small scale and then it spreads, it creates a ripple effect. So that would be it from my side. And thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you very much, Mariam. It was really like, if India has such type of youth, then naturally India is in the safer hands.
Thank you
I
so
must
much,
say.
love. Thank
Yes,
you.
it was
Thank
it was very well presented, and the points you have raised, all solid and valid points. Any questions? Any comments? All are mesmerized, I think.
I doubt that, but thank you. Maybe I just bored them too much.
No, it was perfectly all right, Mariam. It was really like thought-provoking points you have raised. Thank you very much.